Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today, oh my god, I have the sniffles. Today I have the sniffles. If the lighting in this video sucks, I apologize. It's really dark outside. So today we're gonna do my top 10 books of 2019, the end of the decade, the end of many years making book videos, even though I took a bit of a break. I just finished watching my first ever top books of the year video from 2014 and I sound so different. I act so different. I no longer yell at the camera. I no longer sit this close to the camera. So a lot of things have changed and my reading tastes have certainly changed. So today I've ordered the books from least favorite to most favorite. All of these I've rated 5 stars and I loved all of them. I had like a hot 20 something, I think, books that I rated 5 stars this year, which surprised me because I read 69 books in 2019 and I really didn't think that there were that many 5-star books. I really felt like I've read a lot of mediocre books. I was in my second semester of my 4th year at the beginning of the year and I barely read anything then. So I don't know, this whole thing kind of surprised me. A lot of these are books that I read in the latter half of the year, I will say, but I'm very excited to talk about them with you guys today. The first book, which is at number 10, is The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. Honestly, I could have put The Wicked King in this spot as well. I think I liked them both pretty equally. And honestly, I would love to reread this trilogy this year. Yeah, I would love to reread this trilogy this year. I loved the conclusion. I love this series. You probably already know what The Cruel Prince is about, but basically it's about this girl. She's human. She was kidnapped by her adoptive father, who is Fae, when she was young. She has a sister who is half Fae that her mother had when she fell in love with her now adoptive father, who killed both of her human parents. But basically living in the Fae world is kind of all she's ever known, and so she's really acclimated to it. She's very good at living there, even as a mortal. Most mortals that live there because they're tricked into thinking that they live there, and they kind of get tortured psychologically by the Fae that own them. Jude kind of holds her own, and that's something that I love the most about this series. Jude is one of my new favorite characters of all time, I think. I really, really love her. And so I knew I had to put one of these books in the top 10, so I chose The Queen of Nothing. But like I said, I liked The Wicked King just as much, and I read The Cruel Prince back in 2018, so that can't be on the list. Number 9, I knew I couldn't do this list without putting poetry on it. And the poetry that I loved the most this year was This Wound is a World by Billy Ray Belcourt. I talked about this in my Indigenous Lit recommendations video, so if you want to know a little bit more about it, you can check that out. I will leave it linked in a card. But this is a collection of poetry written by a Two-Spirit Indigenous man. He's Plains Cree, I believe. He talks a lot about like being gay and being Indigenous, and he plays with like the form of poetry as well, which I think is really cool. And I absolutely loved this. I thought it was really fantastic. He talks about like the decolonization of gender, and it's just really fantastic. Even if you're not interested in that, I just think that it's a great collection of poetry and I would highly recommend it. The next book, this is, I swear, out of all the videos, I filmed like 4 videos lately, and every video I have talked about this book. I recently read it. I loved it so, so much. One of my favorite series now, I think, of all time, at least for now. Watching some of my old favorites videos, and like, I haven't thought about that series in a while. It's The Sky Weaver by Kristen Ciccarelli. I don't know. I still don't know if this is the conclusion to the series, but the latest in the series. I loved this so much. The last name Sarah. I feel like I can really wrap up what it's about really quick now. It's about a girl named Asha. Her half of her body got burned when she was a child because a dragon burned down half of her kingdom. And she's the daughter of the king, And in this world now, stories are banned because stories attract dragons. And it's interwoven with the stories that her mother told her when she was still alive. It's about her finding out the truth about what happened to her mother, and dragons and fun times and romance. Kristen Ciccarelli is really great at romance. This one follows Sapphire, a soldier and kind of the captain of the kingdom's military, and Eris, who is like a really well-known pirate. She's known as the Death Dancer. It's about them falling in love. It's lesbians, it's fantasy, it's dragons, it's like star-crossed lovers. It's really fucking fantastic, and I highly recommend this series. I thought it was so good. I cried, I laughed, everything about it I love so much. And Kristen Ciccarelli is from Canada. She's from Kitchener, I think. I've met her. She's fantastic. I think she's a brilliant storyteller. Number 7 on my top 10 books of 2019 is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This might be a controversial pick. Some people just felt meh about this book. I really, really loved this book. I have a reading vlog up for this if you want to check it out, kind of see my thoughts as I'm going through the motions of reading this. I also read King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo this year. Again, kind of controversial. Some people loved it, some people didn't. I really loved it. That's one of the books I rated 5 stars that's not on this list. I think that what Leigh Bardugo did with commentating on like the kind of party culture that you get into when you're in university, and she talks about consent, all kind of in this world of this like kind of grotesque, kind of gory world of these secret societies at Yale. It's Leigh Bardugo's adult fantasy debut. It's about a girl named Alex who has had kind of a rough time. She didn't graduate high school, but because she can see ghosts, or they call them greys, I believe, she's recruited by the Ninth House of Yale, the Ninth Secret Society, and the job of the Ninth House is to monitor what the other 8 houses are doing in the supernatural. And because she can see ghosts, she can kind of further help them with keeping an eye on the rest of the secret societies. And a lot more goes down than that. She finds that she's become like a target. All the while we get like real world stuff going on, like I mentioned, like about consent and bodily autonomy and identity and party culture and white boy privilege at universities. Just everything about this I really enjoyed. It's not my top 5, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I am so looking forward to reading the next of the series. The next book I have to share here is kind of the odd one out of my favorites list. I read quite a bit of adult rom-coms this year, and this is hands down my favorite, and I'm so excited to read more adult rom-coms coming up. The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary. I thought this was really cute and really fun, and I really enjoyed it. It's kind of weird the way that my taste in genre has changed. Super fun, super easy, really cute. I think there's a fine line between finding stuff that you like and finding stuff that you might be uncomfortable with when it comes to the different tropes that come up in romance. I think some of them can be kind of triggering for people. This one is just like really cute. It's about this guy, and he works the night shift at a nursing home, and he's looking for some extra cash, and a girl who is recently broken up with her kind of emotionally manipulative, abusive boyfriend. She's looking for a place to stay, and she's having a hard time finding something in her budget. And she works during the day at like an office job, and they end up coming up with this agreement that they're going to share his flat, and she's going to sleep on one side of the bed at night. He's going to sleep on the other side of the bed during the day, and they start to leave like little post-it notes around for each other, and that's kind of when their communication and their romance starts to spring. Just a really cute book, and I really recommend it, and I feel like people aren't talking about this one enough. I actually know about this because of my job as a bookseller. One of my coworkers really loved it, and she was selling these like crazy. She sold so many copies of this book, and I was like, I gotta get on that, and I absolutely loved it. Now into my top 5. I have 2 YA and 3 adult, and I can't wait to tell you about them. My top 5th book of 2019 is The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. I loved this so much. I think it's so underrated. It's been a while since it's come out, so maybe that's why I feel that way. But obviously Holly Black writes a lot of fae books, and I think this is my favorite. It's a standalone about these siblings that live in a little town on like the outskirts of like a fae village, and their whole lives there's been a sleeping fae prince in the woods, and the main character Hazel and her brother have always like pretended they were like his knights, and one day they were gonna rescue him. And they get older and they kind of get over it, but Hazel still feels like something is pulling her to the prince. And one day they wake up to find the casket is empty. It's so good and I love it so much, and I wish we would talk about this book more because I love it. I'm pretty sure Hazel makes an appearance in the Cruel Prince trilogy. I remember it coming up and being like, oh my god, Hazel, and then but I forget where and when and what book it was in now. But it's so good and I loved it a lot. And if you like the Cruel Prince and you haven't even thought about reading this yet, I so highly recommend it. It's so fantastic. I loved it a lot. The next book I have here for you today is hands down my favorite YA fantasy of the year. I read an arc of this. I now have a finished copy. Something about this book hit me. I don't know if it was the point of time that I was reading it at. It hit me so viscerally. I like sobbed throughout almost this entire book. And that is The Kingdom of Souls by Renee Barron. And this book kind of snuck up on me. Like I said, I read it as an arc, so I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. It's about a girl named Ara, and she's born into a family of really powerful witch doctors. And her grandmother is like the lead elder in her tribe, I guess. I can't remember if they're called tribes or not. Ara is about to come of age and she still hasn't experienced any magic whatsoever. And it's supposed to come really naturally to everyone in her family. Her father is also really powerful. All the while, she doesn't have her magic, but her grandmother seems to feel something in her that she knows is there. She's like, you have power, just you need to be patient. But Ara isn't patient, and there are these other magical people that to get their magic, they trade years of their life to get magic. And Ara thinks that that's what she has to do, especially when children start to go missing. So it's about her relationship with her father, her relationship with her own life, and her willingness to give up years of her life to save people. And then we also have another aspect of like gods and goddesses come into play as well. And I have to reread this before the sequel comes out because I want to grab all those details before I get to the second book. But the ending too, like, totally shocked me, and I loved it so much. It's also super diverse, and I just really highly recommend this. As soon as I read it, I was like, this is one of my favorites of the year. I loved it so much, and I think that really comes from like the insane emotional reaction I had to this book, like literally sobbing multiple times. I loved it. It was so good. I can't wait to reread it, and I can't wait for the sequel to come out. Number 3 on this list, we're getting there. This is my top 3 books of the year. Not at all what I expected to make my top 3 books of the year. 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. I read this for a class, and I got to pick it myself. I did it for a seminar, and I knew I wanted to do an N.K. Jemisin. It was for a fantasy writing seminar, so it had to be like super high fantasy. I loved this so much. Again, I cried. It's a gods and goddesses based adult fantasy novel. I'm pretty sure it's N.K. Jemisin's debut novel. And it's like really fucking good for a debut novel. It's about this girl named Yin. She is part of the ruling family of Sky, of the 100,000 Kingdoms, but the capital is called Sky, and the palace is the World Tree. It's this like huge tree that rises up over the city of Sky, and it's the palace where the royals live, the Aramari. But also, the gods and goddesses live in the palace with them, but only a select few because they've been imprisoned by the Aramari. When she arrives, she's surprised to find out that she's named the heiress to the king. And so it's about that, but it's mostly about her figuring out what the fuck is going on in the Sky Tree. There is the god of darkness named Nahadoth. It's about like her like blooming relationships with these gods and figuring out what is going on, why she's the heir to the throne, all of that good jazz. It's good, it's romantic. The language is so fantastic. The world building is so good. Unlike any other like royalty fantasy I've ever read. It's like grittier than that, and it's so fantastic. Top 2. This book is another book that totally snuck up on me. I knew that it sounded intriguing. I figured I was gonna like it. And actually when I first finished it, I didn't give it a 5 stars. The longer amount of time I spend away from this book, the more I keep thinking about it, the more I love it so much, the more I forget those details that didn't make me want to initially rate it a 5 stars, even though I gave it like a 4.5 star. And so all of a sudden, like, it jumped up to 5 stars for me, and it jumped up to my second favorite book of the year. And that is The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling. I loved this book. I thought it was so good. I read it after a recommendation from comparing this to Into the Drowning Deep, which is another book that I rated 5 stars and just missed my top 10 books of the year. It's about this woman named Greer, and she is desperate to get off the planet she lives on. And the planet she lives on is like kind of desolate. It's just like a mechanical planet where people are mining for resources. But living in the core of this planet is tunnelers, and they have caused a lot of casualties with divers who go into these caves. And so she has kind of lied her way to getting into a cave and getting like a one and done kind of deal where she gets enough money that she can leave the planet and go find her mother, who abandoned her and her father years and years and years ago. She soon realizes on her descent that she only has one handler, and her handler is very stoic and strict and doesn't really have much to say. And soon she finds out that M has sent her down there for more reasons than just looking for resources. A lot of other people have descended into this cave, and almost none of them have made it back. And so the cave starts to like psychologically haunt her. She might not be the only one in that cave. It's so scary, and it's really claustrophobic, and it's dark, and it's like heart racing. Oh my God, what is gonna happen? Who is in the cave? Why are they there? What are they looking for? What do they want? It's so good. Like I said, I don't even remember why I didn't rate this 5 stars, and I cannot stop thinking about it. Like, I think about this every night before I go to sleep, like wanting to like dive deeper into the little nuances of this book and what it says and what it means. It's so good. And then it's also like lesbians. So you're seeing a trend here, and you're about to see another trend. But yeah, second favorite book of the year. So fucking good. So good. And last but obviously not least, my favorite book of the year. My number 1 favorite book of the year. This book is kind of a niche book. It's This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Montar and Max Gladstone. Y'all, lesbians, time travel, romance, amazing, beautiful, eat it with a spoon writing. So good. I have said this before, I'll say it again about this book. I want bed sheets made from the words of this book so I can feel safe and luxurious when I go to bed at night. So good. I loved it so much. Basically, it's this like hard sci-fi world where there are kind of two factions of the world. There's a like garden, natural world, and then there's a electronic, technology driven world. And now that we have time travel, we are in a war to figure out which is going to come out on top. And so these two kind of sides, ideologies of this warring world now have agents that go out and time travel and fuck things up to make sure that their side wins. And this is about Red and Blue, who start leaving notes for each other when they go to fuck things up. And slowly but surely in these notes, they kind of start to form a romantic relationship. As they form this romantic relationship, it's like star-crossed lovers style. I just realized I have a type. Anyways, now that we're in love, what the fuck are we gonna do? Because we're on two warring sides of a fucking time war. It is so good. It's so short, but it actually took me a little bit longer than I would initially think to read this, and I think it's because the writing is so goddamn good. I just stopped so many times to like annotate it. Yeah, this is my favorite book of the year. Again, it snuck up on me. I feel like a lot of these really snuck up on me. I did not expect to love them as much as I did, and this one is no exception. Oh, so good. Ending where like everything like wraps up together. Oh my god. I just like, it just hit me. I just remembered the ending and the way that like the story is woven. Please go read this. Those are my top 10 books of 2019. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know, what was your favorite book that you read this year? If you can't pick one, pick 5. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And I will see you guys next time. I can't wait. Bye!